Okay, let's move to our first speaker, our first formal speaker of the session, and that is Gavin Waring. I was delighted a number of months back when Gavin made contact. Gavin, using LinkedIn, which all of us do in some shape or form nowadays, made contact and we struck up a conversation. And Gavin said, or asked if there were any opportunities to speak to our members and talk about what it is that we're actually looking at doing going into the future. And as we were putting the summit together, I thought, what better person to have as our first keynote speaker than Gavin Waring. Gavin has developed programs for almost 2 decades for small to medium operators to strengthen their business and help them to not only survive but thrive. Not only as Gavin has very practical experience, Gavin is also an author of a book which is called How Not to Commit Business Suicide. And as promised, when you're registered, there is a free copy for you to take on the table. Please make sure you do take that, share it around with others, because it is a very down-to-earth, very useful read for people in business as we go through these challenging times. So please join me in welcoming Gavin Waring.
Good morning. This is what I'm going to be working from. I think everyone's got one on their chair. I have to tell you, this is a work in progress. When I was coming here, I thought, well, I'll just stop and think about the various areas that I go to when I'm going to be a consultant for somebody and the things that I think about. And I came up with 7, and I challenged myself over and over again, and the same 7 kept coming up. So I'm going to run through those with you, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples if I happen to get some time on that, because while I can talk about each area at detail, I'm aware of time restraints, so let's see what I can get through. Gosh, it works. Okay. The first of my mantras is trust. And in this box is what you do. And in this box is how you behave. And in this box is who you are with your clients, your staff, your family. Now, I've reached a certain age where when I'm dealing with people, I have a rule: never tell a lie, because then I don't have to remember what I said to somebody. That's an important thing to me. Trust is about what you build with your clients. Trust is the most valuable thing in your business for making money. People go, I want to be a trustworthy person, I want to deliver on time, I want to give a good product. This is not where you compromise. This is not where you collapse your price to get a job. This is about you being you. Now, there's some really good books on trust, and I recommend them. They're like a lot of business books, 80% waffle and 20% focus and concentration. But if you can keep in your head that this is what I do and how I behave and how I get through my work, this is the most important thing. And I often ask clients about this first, because the obvious bedfellow to trust is everyone makes an emotional decision. No one's practical anymore. Our brains don't work like that anymore. We just buy stuff, we do things, we make emotional decisions about buying. And so do your clients. So, for example, I have clients coming to me going, I'm so busy. I'm not making money. I've got 6 months of work. I don't know what to do. I can't employ anybody because I can't afford it. And I go, well, why have you got 6 months of work? Because people love what I do and they recommend me to people. And I go, so people make an emotional decision to come to you. They won't go to anybody else. No. So as a consultant, I do what my middle son says I do for a living, and I state the bleeding obvious. Put your price up. So often as a consultant, I'm paid really good money to tell people to put their price up, because if you look at trust and you look at the level of work coming through the door, you can put your price up. In this area, I've got an architect as a client, and he's always struggling. I can't make money. And I go, how much work you've got? He says, I've booked out for a year. What's my advice? put your price up. So kind of see those two working together. You build trust, and then people make emotional decisions with you. And this is about how you behave. It's not about the number of stars you can knock up in Google. Who the hell believes that anymore? This is about these two working together. It's really important to get these two working together. I have to tell you that this is a work in progress, so the next one I'm trying to find a better title for. So I'll just move on to the next one. You're probably shit with money. I say that to clients all the time. Yeah, you're probably shit with money. They say that to everybody. So I have people coming and going, I'm going to get out of business. I've never got any money. I'm always going broke. And I look at their accounts and go, you've actually got a great business and you've given yourself a good salary and you spend the profit and you spend the taxman's money. You're just shit with business, shit with money. So I say this over and over again. Now, our company's been going for 28 years. We have our own software that processes a lot of our accounts for our clients, particularly tradies. I can tell you an absolute fact. The average tradie in Australia, every 4.5 years, spends a house deposit on his lunch. It used to be 5, we're down to 4.5. In the last few years, he's got Uber Eats, he's got gambling online, he's got so much crap that he just wastes money. And if you all kind of went, I can see some of you going, will he stop talking to me? If you want to change your life, this is where you start. Because if you're shit with money, what are you doing in your business? If you're not controlling yourself a bit, what are you doing in business yourself? Right? So just kind of think about that. I can give you lots of examples of that, but that's really, really important. Let's go to the next one. I am getting through this quickly. Am I going too fast? Is everybody fine with this? Okay, personal compliance. I'm going to guess that half of you don't pay yourself properly if you're in business. Is that a fair call? I'm going to take a small salary. It's going to help me get my business going. So the first thing I say with a client is pay yourself 80 grand, 100 grand, and people go, the business can't afford it. Yes, it can. You process $100,000, you pay the tax, and you lend half the money back. You're now going to become a creditor of your own company for the work you're doing. This now reflects who you are and the hard work you're doing, so that when you go down to the Commonwealth Bank for a housing loan, there's my salary. There's my tax returns. Yes, I gave half of it back to the company, but this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. You know, one of the things as the size of our business we have to face is that we have clients die. And it's a tragedy because so often our clients don't have life insurance. Now, if you want my opinion, has everybody got more than $1.5 million on themselves? It's at least $1.5 million to cover your mortgage, clean your business up, give your family something going forward. And I can tell you that men at the age of 50 start to die, and you could die. Women, it's later because women talk, they do something about their health, they do something about their mental health. Blokes sit there and work out how to die with stress. Yep. So, you know, the other thing in finance, in personal compliance is things like how many of you with family have scholarship funds for their kids? Australian College Scholarship Funds, a few bob, a few bob, a few bob every week. And when they get to be teenagers with the fridge open and they're eating and they want so much money and this and that, you're starting to get yourself covered. You're not straining anymore. You know, I got my business this far. Personal compliance is all about fit your own mask first. Now, I'll give you a little story on this that does relate to the next one about understanding the evidence. So I took my team through all of this 2 days ago. And Danielle, bless her little heart, she's working for us for 6 months. She's a client coordinator, walked in, put the accounts down of a client and said, I've been telling this client he doesn't charge for his subbies. He's getting no return on his materials. I tell him he's a blanket wall. He won't listen. He says I'll lose the market. And she's talking in the next box, which is evidence. So I phoned him up and I said, I'm going to go to personal compliance when I talk to this client. So I phoned him up yesterday and I said, it's Gavin Waring. do you know who I am? He says, yes, I read some of your blogs that come out. And I said, look, Daniel's put your accounts on my desk. And I think I can help you make an extra $150,000. I'm not going to tell him how. I'm just going to be in his space of personal compliance. I'm where he would want to put his own mask on, silence down the end of the phone, and then he says, well, I'd be stupid to say no. Because at our company, once you pay a flat fee, we do anything for you, there's no extra charge. And then I stepped into the trust area and I said, how much work have you got on? And I know the answer. He's got huge amounts of work. And I said, well, he's in the building industry, huge amounts of work. And then I said, and so do you have the same clients coming back? Yes, they come back all the time. So I know that 150, even the 300,000 that I believe I can make him can be done. But I had to start in this box. I couldn't start lecturing him about how he runs his business. I had to get him here, then have a conversation here before I go to the next thing, which is about what he does. Does everybody get how you can jump around these boxes a bit and how you can kind of change yourself? So the next one, of course, is understanding the evidence. So there are three monsters out there: QuickBooks, MyOb, Xero. They are not God, right? They are cash accounting systems with some accrual systems that hang off them. They're not new. This stuff was invented 400 or 500 years ago. So as a business owner, if you say, my bookkeeper does this, my accountant does that, and you haven't got into your system and you don't know how the hell it works, you've got a problem. Because so often I'll get files and I'll send it off to one of my senior accountants for an analysis. This business is in trouble. The record is 22,000 unreconciled transactions from somebody who said, I've got a great bookkeeper and an accountant. You need to know this stuff really well. You need to bury yourself in this occasionally. Another fact, industrial software does not work with Xero, MyOb or QuickBooks. And if you want to afterwards come and tell me that it does, I'm not going to have that argument with me. You cannot take that oxygen from me. I would be right, you would be wrong. Your POS system should tell you about your sales. You are measuring that evidence. Your physical stock take, opening and closing, will tell you what's going on with your stock. The number of uniforms you laundry, the number of coffees you make in a certain time against the weight of the coffee. These are evidences of your business, not just the accounting package, which is there to satisfy the Australian Taxation Office and measure how you're taxed. You have to get across numbers, you have to invent numbers. One of my favourite numbers in my company is that we count the number of phone calls my accountants and client coordinators make to our clients every week. Because jumping back to emotional decisions, I want our clients to make an emotional decision to stay with us, and I have to measure that, right? You'll find things in your business that make sense. How are we going? All right? Good? Strategy for that crazy dream. I've got an example when I finish where I'm going to show you a guy who had the world's most impossible dream and he's achieved it. When I started this business, if you read my book in the first chapter, you will realise that I was broke. I was on the street, 2 suitcases, a very pissed off wife, 3 kids, and I went, I'm going to build the business that would have saved me, which is very interesting because I'm a chef. I'm not an accountant, but I have a serious understanding of double entry, so I knew where I was starting. Right? It was just a stupid dream. I think I employ 50 people. I operate in 3 countries and down the eastern seaboard. And I work all over Australia. Not bad for a chef in an accounting firm. It was crazy. And I've got another crazy dream that I've only shared with 3 other people so far, that I'm going to start a second accounting firm so that I have extra cash when I retire, and I will get that to $8.5 million in 3 years. Very ambitious, but now I've said it and I believe it and I can do it. And you know, in your hearts you've got some crazy dream, and you know what? It can work. And sometimes some of you will have those things that you're too scared to say to anybody. Guess what? If you believe it, it can happen. My favourite saying is from Henry Ford: whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right. Right? So always have those goals. I have people come to me, their businesses in tatters, but they still need to keep in business and keep going. And this is where I go to. I try and find a reason why they should stay in business. Something about, they want for their family, somewhere where they want to go. This can be really important. And yet my last example that I'm going to give to you, the guy didn't even have this. And he's been successful, and you'll see why. The last thing is tactics. Those things is, this is my plan, this is my strategy, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to do it. The how I'm going to do it can change. Doesn't work, throw it out the door. We've built software that we've taken to Australia. Businesses, or the accounting, bookkeeping industry, drew a blank. No one's interested, which is fine. And recently I've been in Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia and gone, why didn't I think about this before? Indonesian population. Their middle class is triple our population, our total population. Malaysia, Singapore, there are people in this room who have got products that you've probably never thought you could bung yourself over to Asia and sell them or make them work. Work around your tactics. Try different things. If this marketing doesn't work, it's not going to work. Try something else. Yeah. So I'm going to try and give you a couple of examples. I want to talk about Arapin. He's now a really good mate. And for people who know me, I'm not one for friends. I just work, I go home, I like my own company. I'm inclined to drive people nuts if they spend too much time with me. So let's describe his business. What he does is that he works in Gili Air, which is a small island off Lombok, and he helps people find a hotel room, or he used to, except it's all online now, so he lost his business. He'll help them find a restaurant. He'll do anything to help them to take a small commission. His income is probably between $1,000 and $1,500 a year. I met him when I first got off the boat at Gili Air. He walked down, he said, "Can I take your bag?" And this is really unusual for me. I said, yes. For someone who's flown into Cairo Airport, Tegucigalpa in Honduras, I don't give my bag to anybody. I'm kind of paranoid about it. But I let him. We chatted all the way till he got my hotel room. And we just kept talking and kept talking. And I've gone back there because, yes, it's great waters that dive on turtles. And I know that I can engage with him to help me do things. He's also become a friend. So he arranges for me to go boating with these guys. And, we're out in this boat with no life jackets. And then I suddenly say to him, "Arapin, I can't see the shore. And Captain Barracuda can't start the engine." And he says, "Mr. Gavin, you just worry too much." He's quite healthy for me. That's his rice farm. His rice farm would probably sit in this room. He's lost a third of his rice farm because he had to give it to somebody who lent him money to help with his son's education. So he's become a friend, but it's a kind of cool story of what he's achieved. That's his eldest daughter with my wife. This is at a strictly girls Muslim school. So I'm there with my Caucasian face. She's there. We're the first Caucasian or Asians ever to go into the school in Lombok. Just greatest compliment I've ever been paid, because she knows that I'm an uncle. She took my hand. And those who know the Muslim society, she took my hand, she kissed my hand, she took my hand to her face and to her head. It was spectacular. Really just things I live for. Anyway, let's move on to Arapin and what he's trying to achieve. So, yeah, that's me looking old, him looking young. He's in the same pair of shorts he had 14 years ago. So let's look at this. He has one crazy dream. He is going to put 3 kids through university on $1,500 a year. He's got a rice farm, which is enough rice for all the family, but he's lost a third of it. When I visited his house in Lombok, which he inherited from his father, he says, that tree I trade for eggs because that neighbour likes it and I trade that. Life's a juggle for him. Everything is a balance, so many things in the air just to get by. But his crazy dream is he's going to get 3 kids through university. So I'm taking this as an example because what he does is his living is anything to do with helping someone to get some sort of tip or help. So in getting to know me, he wasn't scared to ask for stuff because he knows that the chances are when he asks for something, the answers are no. So when I first met him, I said, mate, can I do something for you? He said, yeah, can you buy my eldest daughter a computer? Yeah, it's a bit of an ask for someone you've just known for 3 or 4 days, but I took that on board that this guy I'd got to know and felt very genuine about what he did. He had taken me out fishing. I dived on turtles. It was just a wonderful experience. I trusted him immensely. Like those boats they take me out of, you've got to trust people to let them take you out. And he's got there. I've got to know his eldest daughter, who I did buy the computer. She is finalising her strategic and foreign relations study in Poland. And she's at a Polish university, a Hungarian university. She has got a degree and there's a good chance she's going to get a job in the Indonesian embassy in Poland. It's a remarkable story for one of the family. I've met the son. He's 1 year off finishing his economic degree at Lombok University. And the youngest daughter, I'll put my hand up and I've said I'll finish pay for her education. I gave up a lot of drinking about 2 weeks ago when a mate of mine died. It's 1 bottle of expensive wine a month for her education. I'll buy her a computer. But he worked on everyone makes an emotional decision. So I made emotional decisions to trust this person who was helping me because of the way he ran his business. Then I became a friend and someone who could really help his family. Now that's a kind of smaller version of what can happen in life, but he had just this crazy dream and tactics he has none. He has so many balls in the air in his life just surviving day to day to reach what he wants, that his tactics are more or less not there. So I want to give one more example because this is probably something I'd like to talk about, and then you guys can kind of, if there's any questions, if I've run out of time or something, we could answer them. This is a laundry in Tokoroa. Who's been to New Zealand? Who's been to Tokoroa? It's good. It's a really hideously boring place. Anyway, this is a laundry that works there, and the guy who's got this laundry is selling it, so he called me up and he said, I'm selling my business for $420,000. And I went through how he runs the business. He is completely trusted by the main factories that work in pulp and paper and all those sorts of things around him in Tokoroa. These large corporations make emotional decisions. They stay with him because when they send all the overalls to him, they also darn and repair. They do all those little things where they're loved. He's not shit with money. I know this guy. If he opened his wallet, moths would fly out. You know, that's what he's like. Personal compliance, he hasn't really looked after his health and he needs to move. And he understands the evidence. He sits here with a stopwatch on how long washes take, how long it takes to process things. This business has a great brand and a solid reputation. And when he said, I want to sell it for $420, I got him to push the price up for $480. And he's got that price within 24 hours of me telling him to do that, because what he's done is he's left the strategy to grow the business and those additional tactics to the person buying the business who can see that they'll probably double the business in 2 years. In other words, here is a really good business that had no strategy for a crazy dream and no tactics, but focused on the other areas. So not all of these are where you necessarily need to put yourself, But if you pick up this card and kind of think about yourself and think about where you are at any time, you can make those changes to your business. Know the evidence, be honest and hardworking, work well with people, don't be shit with money, and have a crazy dream. So I hope I haven't used up too much time so far. How's that gone? Is everybody happy with that? This is a work in progress, by the way. I've never rehearsed this. It's just, this is how I fly.
Gavin, thank you so much for that. I certainly encourage you to pick up Gavin's book during the morning tea break or on your way out. Again, a small token of appreciation
Thank you
for
very
being
much.
with us this morning. Thanks so much, Gavin.
Cheers.
Really appreciate it.